How's it going, everybody? It's your boy Jose, TheNYCGeek, aka TNG, aka your Elden Lord, aka the one who set the throne today, aka your tribal chief, aka the guy who wants to get into this fast. This isn't going to be a long video. We're gonna do this analysis real quick. But before we get into that, I want to make sure to say something very important. I usually say this at the end of my videos, but I feel that with yesterday's events, it is very important to stress. Please, please, please. Take your time. Your time is precious. Spend it with your loved ones. Our futures on our time on this earth is not guaranteed by any stretch of the imagination. Please take that time. Spend it with somebody you love. If you see me a little sunburnt, that's because I actually was in Washington, D.C. when these events happened with my wife. And yeah. So anyway, we're going to get into this episode again. This is not going to be a long analysis. That's because this was a wind down from what last week was one of the best episodes of fantasy that we've ever seen. Not just of House of the Dragon, but one of the best episodes we have ever seen with the gold dragon, with the red dragon and the gold. Okay. The massive battle between the dance of dragons so far. And right now, this is kind of that wind down. This is a cool, we're cooling down from what was an immense episode last week. We're seeing the aftermath. We're seeing the events. And there are some things that happen here, but again, it's the moving of the pieces on the grand scheme of things. So let's get into this real fast. We are starting off with obviously what we would imagine is, I guess before we go into it, obviously spoilers. If you haven't seen the episode yet, go check it out. I enjoyed it. I don't think there's been any episode of House of the Dragon that I haven't enjoyed except for maybe episode 9 of last season. And even still, I enjoyed it. I just thought it was a little dumb here and there, but this is another good episode. This is just, again, really slow. You gotta understand that's what Game of Thrones, that's what House of Dragon, that's what Westeros is. But it was a good setup episode of things to come. Things to come. So anyway, we are starting with what one would imagine, and it's gonna be a little bit of kind of like Corlys's actor, man, just having a great scene here in front of the Driftmark throne, mourning the loss of his wife, Princess Rhaenys, the queen that never was. And I'm actually at the point in the book where they talk about her. Like I'm at the point where Viserys and Jaehaerys has just had the Great Council, and he has declared Viserys his heir. And he just, he's heartbroken about this, especially because the last time that he really interacted with his wife was they showed, they had the table, and I'm sure that they had off screen some interaction, obviously, but before that she had been kind of upset about the fact that she knew that he had a bastard out of wedlock with her. And but he's still heartbroken. It's still his wife of many, many years. In the books, and I think they've shown here how much of a love and a special connection the two of them had. So I love it, man. This is a great scene. He's mourning her, and across the sea, they show Rhaenyra is mourning her as well. And it's really cool. This is going to be a lot of people mourning Rhaenys because that is such a huge loss for the Team Black, for the Targaryens. And we move into this other next scene is they are parading. Oh man, I paused that. I'm sorry. They are parading Melee's body through Game of Thrones. I'm sorry, guys. I apologize. Like I said, there's a lot on my mind right now. They're parading the dragon's head through King's Landing, and this I found it very interesting because as soon as there are going to be events later in the episode where they talk up where you can see where this is going, but it's such a bad idea to do this, right? They are thinking like they're parading Melee's head and they're talking about how it's the traitor dragon, and the people are not cheering. The people are horrified at the sight of this, right? And isn't that such a cool shot that the head is still smoking, the incredible heat that this dragon is giving off, that its charred body is still smoking. You could just imagine, like, look at that. You can imagine how difficult it must have been for them to get their head on this. But this line right here, this is what I want to highlight. The king's the small folk are saying Rhaenyra will answer this. And all they did, the people are scared. They're not like, oh yeah, this is great. Oh, cheers and whatnot. They thought that they were gonna get cheers. And Cole even says that right here. He goes, don't they realize we won the battle? He's telling Alicent's brother, and it's like, dude, that's did we really win? And that's what I said before. I said that last week was this really a victory? That was a battle that there really came no victors from it. It looks like Sunfire died, or they say Sunfire's dragon is long in the dying, or is dying. We are going to see Aegon's shape. He's not in good shape either. And Vhagar, they make a mention that Vhagar is extremely wounded, took a bad hit from all that. So we're gonna see that this is what do they call it? A Pyrrhic victory, I believe it's called. That where it's like you got the victory, but at what cost? And I'm sure I butchered it, that exact phrasing of the word. It's Pyrrhick. So I think it's Pyrrhic victory, but it's a victory that comes at great cost, perhaps making the ordeal not worth winning. And Cole, there's something that's very interesting here. That the interesting part that I was going to say about this scene is they're parading this body around. They're parading the head, and right here, Ulf says, he's like, this villager says, I thought the dragons were immortal. And that is a very scary thing that I don't think Cole and them are taking into account. They are showing the people that the dragons aren't gods and that they could just be killed. And the most people, not all, the small folk don't really know all of the machinations of the world. Obviously, they barely know how to read. They don't know how to read and write. They don't know history. But remember, Aegon's conquest, he lost his beloved one of his beloved queens when her dragon was killed in Dorne. The last thing you want to show people, the last thing you want to show them is that you are vulnerable. And that's what they're showing, because the entire reason that the Targaryens rule is because they, quote unquote, control the dragons. And you're showing them that these dragons can be killed. So obviously not exactly the best long-term strategy to do so. They're carrying this right here. They make it look like this is supplies. It's actually Aegon's body. It's Aegon's body. And he's not dead. He's not dead. They bring him in. They bring him in like under cloak and dagger, because obviously you can't have your king paraded about on a gurney. But Alicent here is trying to pretend, and it cracks me up, because I put on my notes here that like she is now trying to be the caring mother. Now she's trying to be the caring mother, because that's always Alicent's, like, she's such a hypocrite and such a always reactive parent, quote unquote. But the Maesters are trying to do what they can. And I can show you maybe a little bit about how Aegon, I had to be careful in the scene here, because there is a scene that is very not safe for YouTube. Not here, not yet. But they're tearing off the pieces of the armor, and it is charred. His body, he is maimed. Now, Aegon does speak. He does speak later on. He whispers for his mother. As ironically, she had walked away at that point. But the Maesters are talking. They don't know what state Aegon is going to be in. They're not sure if he'll ever wake. So they are scared to to tell her. Not scared to tell her, but scared to give her any hope of, hey, we truly don't know if the king is going to make it. And even the Silent Sisters, I'll put it back to here so you can see the Silent Sisters are here. And if you know the Silent Sisters are there to prepare bodies for, funerals and whatnot. So, this is not a good sign for the Silent Sisters to be here when the king has arrived. So they're really casting the shadow of, is Aegon going to make it? And if he is, if he doesn't make it, he might die right there in his bed. And if he does make it, is he ever going to be the same? Because that's another thing. Even if he does make it, what fate is he going to have there? And this scene right here, Aemon is at the foot of his bed. He is at the foot of the king's bed, and he's looking at his mother, and he's saying the quiet part aloud. He says the quiet part aloud to her. Look at, oh wow, I got it at a good spot right there. Aegon is just torn up. He is in bad shape. And he says someone will have to rule in his stead. He said the quiet part aloud. What Allison didn't want to say, what the Grand Maester didn't want to say is someone has to rule. And clearly he's primed to do that. He is Aegon's heir. Now, I don't know if they're going to introduce Maelor, who is, I believe that's the name of Aegon's other son. I don't think so. I don't think they're introducing him in this. They may have just cut him out for story purposes. Again, this is an adaptation. But you know, as they're doing that on the other side of Dragonstone, and Allison's pissed, and she's trying to get answers from Cole because she's suspecting that Aemon had a hand in Aegon's demise. She wants to know what part he had in this. And on the other side of things, Rhaenyra's council is once again, she's having problems with her council. It's the whole thing. They're talking about their largest dragon's gone. They're losing castles left and right. They're barely being able to bring back any forces. Like they're in up shit creek without a paddle. And you know, they want to say like, look, we trust, it's not you, Your Grace. We trust you. We trust you, but you got to do something. We have no hope. The Kristen Kroll is marching through the Crownlands unchallenged. And they tell her, they're like, look, right now is the chance. I even said it last week, where Vhagar, they mention here that Vhagar is not in good shape. Vhagar barely is very taxed. I believe the exact words were Vhagar is depleted after such a hard fought battle. And now is the time for them to try to press a counterattack, so to speak. Right here, I found the part. I'm sorry, I was going through it. Vhagar is depleted after such a hard fought battle. And that's what I was talking about last week. You saw Vhagar getting that massive gout thrown through them. Vhagar is a very powerful dragon. But that does not mean it is invincible. It is slow. It's strong, but it is super duper slow and vulnerable, especially after this battle. It is the older dragons get, the more powerful they get in terms of strength. But that doesn't, but you know, like it takes more energy for them. It takes them longer to stir and to recuperate. And so her men, but they're in like a catch. What is that phrase? They're in a catch-22. You know, they want Rhaenyra to do something, but at the same time, they tell her she can't because she's the queen. So she's like, dude, what do you want me to do? You're telling me to do something, but then at the same time, you're telling me don't do something. So it's hard for them. And it's Rhaenyra's feeling useless. And I like this scene right here where Jacaerys is feeling useless. He wants to do something, right? He feels like, damn, man, I'm the prince. And I feel bad for Jacaerys, right? Because I like him, and he's probably everything that a princeling should be, which, you know, honorable. He listens to his histories. He's kind. He, you know, is brave, which means he's probably going to face the worst death of all time, because good and honorable people don't live very long in this world. But he has a plan, and he tells his fiance, his betrothed, if I can convince Lord Frey, the goddamn phrase, to let the troops from the north cross through the Twins, that'll save them time, and my mother will have an army at least on land that's available to them. So he's got a good idea. He does. And I give props to Jacaerys because he's trying to, you know, work within the shit hand that they've been dealt with. Because again, Daemon's disappeared. They've lost their big dragon. It's chaos for both sides, you know. So he tells his, and him and Baela have a great talk. You know, they're chatting and deciding. I'm sorry, not Baela. Rhaena. God, these goddamn names, man. Everybody's got goddamn Martin. Why do you have everybody have the same damn names? Anyway, him and them are talking about it, and he tells her like, look, you know, I'm going off, and I'm gonna do this. Don't tell my mom. Don't tell my mom, please, because now he's tied too, and obviously, you know, Rhaenyra is like, I can't do anything, but you can't do anything because you're the prince either. So the two of them can't do shit. and the two of them are the only two of the dragon riders I have left. And over here in Harrenhal, Daemon is Daemon. Oh my God. Daemon is on his own side quest over here. And unfortunately, he is finding it is not so easy to cow people into just look at this dragon design, man. This dragon design is so dope. I'm sorry. He's finding it's not so easy to just cow people and bend them to make them bend the knee to him. And he tries to meet here with Lord Bracken. He's got the Blackwoods, right? And it's funny, he says this line here: renounce the false King Aegon as an usurper and bend the knee to me. Not to Rhaenyra, to me. And it's like Rhaenyra has said, Daemon is clearly out for himself. He's out for himself. He may do the pretense, and I truly think that he does care for Rhaenyra. I do. But he does the pretense of saying that this is all for the good of her, for her, when it's really for the good of him and her. You know what I mean? He's not putting her as his first priority, clearly. He's not answering any ravens. He's not treating with her. Right now, if Daemon was there, if Daemon had been still in Dragonstone, this war might have been already over. Might have been over, because then she could have sent Daemon and Rhaenys to go face off against Vhagar. But Lord Bracken tells him, yo, shove it. He tells him, shove it. Like, and this shot right here, this is what I want to get this shot right here. He tells Daemon, we choose fire. We choose fire. Like, do you know the balls that this man must have to tell Daemon, who is out there on his dragon, and he tells him, hey man, we choose fire. Yo, that's some cojones. And then look at this scene right here. I love this shot right here. I love this shot. Him walking away and Daemon's dragon behind him, man. And dude, do you understand how this dude is bold? To turn his back on not just Daemon, but to turn his back on a dragon as if it is nothing. Yo, this Lord Bracken, he's got some balls, man. He's got some fucking balls. He's got some balls. And then we move forward. Daemon has a little bit of a talk with Lord Blackwood and tells him, look, dude, I need you to bring the Brackens to my side. If that means you have to kidnap their daughters, if that means you have to play dirty, persuade them. And just Daemon, he doesn't learn that this kind of like all these dirty tricks are just backfiring on him, and they will backfire on him again at the end, near the end of this episode. But we move to the Vale. The Vale, beautiful shot of the Vale, beautiful shot sets, man. Look at this shot right here. Look at that. That is so cool, man. The Vale is so. I geographically, out of all the places in Westeros, the Vale is my favorite spot. A lot of people like the North. I like the North because I like the cold, but I love the Vale, man. I love this whole mountain. One of the reasons that I love where I live, so many mountains around us, and you got the Vale, and it's impregnable. And the leader, the ruling, I don't remember the ruling lady's name of the Vale. She's here with, is this Rhaena? This is Rhaena. No, God damn it. No, I'm sorry. This is Rhaena. Jacaerys' fiance is Baela. I'm sorry. God damn it, man. I keep confusing them. It's hard, man. It's hard. But it took me forever to remember Jacaerys and Lucerys. But she's telling her, like, you promised the queen 15,000 swords. And she's like, yeah, I promised her that, and she would give us protections and a dragon. And you're seeing, again, the Targaryens were able to keep everyone cowed because of the threat of their dragons. But when the House of the Dragon is divided, these lords are ready to move on their own. They'll be like, nah, you know what? Dragons can't be everywhere, right? And it's a shame. And this, like, she's getting a little sassy. And I don't know if she would be as sassy with Rhaenyra or even Jacaerys. I think she's just being sassy because this is, obviously like the what I don't know I don't know what relation you would say. She's Rhaenyra's stepdaughter. I don't know, man, because that's Daemon's daughter. So, and now it's all very confusing. All very confusing. Because now Jacaerys' stepfather is his uncle, but his great uncle? I don't know, man, dude. I fucking lost. You can't make sense of the Targaryen family tree. That's kind of the point. But look at this. At this point, she tells the Lady of the Vale, I don't recall you specifying the size of the beast in your request. And look at what this lady says to her. She sasses her. She goes, will you goad me, child? Will you goad me, child? Will your bread and shelter now depend on my pleasure? Yo, calm yourself down, dude. Again, these people, they are very bold. That's kind of the benefit that the Vale has, is that it really can only be attacked from the air. Not to say that armies can attack, but it's got like the best defenses in the Seven Kingdoms. But damn, they are cocky as shit. And this woman is smug as hell. I will say this. I don't know who the hell she is, but when she gets up, she's like, I miss like feeling powerless. And Rhaena's like, so do I. But I loved, look, this is a detail I want to show y'all. I want y'all to see this because I'm bringing it up to this. It's so goddamn beautiful. This is, you know, when I always harp on how the Acolytes' money feels like, or the Acolytes' budget, it's like, you're like, where the hell is this budget going to? Where did this budget go to? Not so with House of the Dragon. I constantly say it. Look at this woman's dress. I know that this is just a weird thing to focus on, right? Or maybe it's not the most coolest of things to focus on. But I want you to look at this gown, man. This shit is gorgeous. I'm about to let it play. Like, look how pretty this thing is. Look at that. Dude, that is so not. Oh my God, man. Like, it is such a beautiful, beautiful outfit. And you can feel where every bit of this show's budget is going. You can feel every single bit of it. It's going to the costumes. It's going to the look at I said it again. I said it at Rhaenyra when Rhaenyra and Daemon were arguing. Look at the furniture. Man, this shit feels so alive. It feels like when the Lord of the Rings came out. Remember, you could just walk through the Shire. You felt like it was there, not something that was like CGI or a little piece of shit studio piece. This feels like real castles. It feels like these places actually exist, and like if you took a plane, you could actually go to the Vale. I love this show, man. I've said it before. One of my big things is I love lore. I love settings. I love all that jazz. Oops, sorry. I love settings and whatnot, and I'm a big sucker for that. I'm a huge sucker for settings. That's why one of the many things I love about the Forgotten Realms is the massive, massive settings that they have. But yeah, so we continue on with, and I think that this is kind of getting close to where I got to be careful. I'll skip through it. Rhaenyra and the White Worm they have a scene where they're talking a little bit. They're talking about how, the Greens, and the White Worm is telling Rhaenyra, she's like, hey, the small folk are not for the Greens, all right? Especially after they paraded Meleese's head about. And this is the scene I gotta skip through this scene right here. Rhaenyra has a little moment with Baela. Yeah, okay. Didn't make the mistake this time. I gotta skip ahead because Daemon has a very sexy vision. Let's just call it that. He has a sexy vision with his fucking mom. But that is, dude, Harrenhal is playing some, and look, I don't know if he's ever actually did know his mom, because at one point Alice tells him, like, you never met your mom. So it could be some creepy mindfuck here, but he looked like he was having a good time with what he thought was his mom. He had one of those Freudian dreams, we'll say. But yeah, it was very not safe for YouTube. And again, Daemon, he's realizing that Harrenhal is not everything he had wanted. Even though he wants to pretend, he wants Harrenhal to be his King's Landing. He wants it to be his King's Landing in the sense that when Aegon the Conqueror landed, this was where this was his seat of conquest. This is where he set out to conquer the realms. And Daemon is pretending like, or wants Harrenhal to be his, but he's quickly fighting. Like the guy's like, hey, the castle, we have no gold, bro. We have no armies. This castle is falling apart. What do you expect from us? And Daemon's trying to play his cloak and daggers game, but it's not working out for him. And all the while, Harrenhal is poisoning his mind. So yeah. And then after that, Aegon is not doing too good. Aegon is not doing too good. And the small council is saying there has to be, and what the title of this episode is, there has to be a regent. Somebody has to rule while Aegon's incapacitated. And I don't know what Alicent, this is such a blow to her ego, and I love it because Alicent she overestimates herself a lot. She says, now we must name a regent to take his place. And they're like, okay, a wise strategy, Your Grace. And she's like, I myself served in this role for my husband. You didn't do shit. Look, I gotta be honest. You likely did not do shit. It was your dad who was the hand who was doing everything. You were just a figurehead. And it's so funny, right? Because last episode, how ironic, how fitting. She had told her son to do nothing because he basically is nothing, and to let the small council rule in her, and to learn from them. And they basically relegate her to the same role. They tell her, no, we need Aemond. And she tries to play from her two allies. She goes to Sir Larys like, hey, Sir Larys, you got my back, right? I let you see my feet. Right? Nope. He's like, no, it needs to be Aemond. Aemond is next in line, Alicent. What would make you, and she tries to be like, oh, but, Aemond is our only dragon rider, and he, his skills are needed on the field. And they're like, no. And Sir Kristen says the line, Aemond is next in line. Alicent, let me ask you something. How does that feel, that taste of crow? Like you stood there and helped this council usurp Rhaenyra because she was a woman. Now you thought that it was going to be any different? What the fuck kind of idiot are you? I mean, Alicent is a fucking moron, right? But, and then I love this right here. Aemond grabs the stone. He starts sitting up, and I can't play obviously everything here, but you can see she is angry. She is livid. And everything around, they do this thing with the audio where everything has that kind of like muffled, like you can barely hear it in the background kind of thing, as they focus in on Alicent, who is feeling so useless and so very much what she made her son feel last week when he came to her and was asking for help and was looking for support, and she told him do nothing. Well, Alicent, now you can go do nothing. Like they don't. I get that. Maybe in the book version, a Rhaenyra will be a little different and whatnot, or maybe Alicent might be. But in the show, you really have no sympathy or any. I myself have found nothing to sympathize or care about Alicent at all. Maybe one or two times I felt a little sympathetic for her, especially when I was like, it's nice that she treated Viserys so well and she actually was dutiful. But now I don't even know if she was, because who knows how much if she was with Cole while Viserys was sick. Who knows? Because she's a hypocrite. And I hate hypocrisy. We go to Ulf. We're finishing up here. Like I said, I don't want this to be too long. We go to Ulf. Ulf's daughter is still sick. That's the guy who said he's a dragon seed, and that is going to be very important later on. He's he's sick and his wife knows that shit is hitting the fan. And she's like, we got to get the fuck out of here, bro. And this shot right here, this is what I want to get to. Allison confronts Cole. And he said there were men walking, they were on fire. He is clearly suffering from what he saw. Cole is not blind to the horrors of war, right? But he is very fresh to the horrors of dragons being involved with war. And I think that it's so cool to show this shock, that this state that Cole is in, to be so shell-shocked. He's so like, well, let me show you this line, because this is what I want to say. Beyond being shell-shocked, excuse me, I think he feels almost useless. Not entirely, but I think I get a sense that Cole is almost feeling kind of outdated, okay? Because he says this line here, and I made sure to jot it down in my notes. We have given this war to the dragons. We have given the war to the dragons, okay? And then he tells her, it's fitting a dragon rider shall lead us. When he said that line, and the reason that I say that, Cole gives this kind of vibe of just kind of feeling like almost like this, I can't do anything. He gives me that feeling of like, if you've ever watched The Last Samurai, of when the samurais were fading, because despite their ferocity and their hope to, still be this prevalent military power, when they were faced with the overwhelming power of firearms, no matter how much their hearts, that warrior spirit might have wanted them to persevere, they could not overcome the overwhelming power of guns. And I think that is what, that's the vibe I get with Cole right now, is that he's getting this, he's like, dude, you don't understand. You're not there. You're not there to see, because that's the thing. Allison isn't there. She's here. She saw her son burnt, but she wasn't there to see hundreds of men burned to a crisp right in front of them, burning in their very armor, to see dragons, which to them are like gods, fighting in the heavens above them, while the ants that are humans are on the ground. That's the vibe I get from Cole, is that he is very much being like, dude, you don't know the sheer scope of what this war has become. We have engaged. It's like engaging in nukes, It's like, yeah, you can have armies fighting each other. It's like Fallout. You can have the armies fighting each other. You can bring tanks. You can bring airplanes. But the moment those nukes are unleashed, it feels like destruction is the only outcome, that there will be no victor. And that's the feeling that I'm getting from Cole when he said that we have given the war to the dragons. I think if it had been up to Cole, they never would have had to use Aemond or Vhagar, but he knew that they were going to have to, unfortunately. But I think that he was trying his best to make this a battle between armies, not armies and dragons. And that's what Rhaenyra, and that's why when you get this vibe from Cole, I feel like it's easier to understand where Rhaenyra is coming from, where she's been coming from these past 4 episodes where she says, this is what I have unleashed. What she said last episode, I have unleashed on the realm. What I have unleashed on the realm cannot be for a crown alone. She's like, dude, I have basically made this war dragon versus dragon now. And I don't know, to me, that's probably one of the biggest parts of this episode. We get to this next scene here. Where the people are trying to get out of the King's Landing. They are panicking. And Aemond has given orders that people can't get out. No one's getting out of King's Landing. And I think that they are realizing that shit is about to hit the fans. They're scared. They're terrified that Rhaenyra, like they said, Rhaenyra will answer this. Rhaenyra's not going to just sit by where you've killed one of House Targaryen's oldest dragons, and you think we're just going to sit here? So that's what I think. And the people also are starving. They're hungry. they want to go do, they're like, dude, we're being starved out here by the blockade, and it's the small folk that are suffering more than anyone, which will soon probably, we saw what happened in season 2 of Game of Thrones. When the small folk are starving, yeah, there's an old thing of like, you can be like this very powerful wizard, and when I think it was an old spell. God, I think it was called Heart of Stone in Dungeons and Dragons. And it was something about like, you had this spell. I'm pretty sure it was Heart of Stone. You would have this spell and you would only suffer like 1 point of damage, right? But if it was in the description that if you still got yourself, if you were attacked by a mob of peasants that were attacking you with pitchforks doing 1 damage, you're still gonna die. And that's the thing that the big folk always seem to forget, is that you can still die. You can still die a noble Targaryen. You can still die to a peasant riot. Even High Septon can die to it. So when the small folk suffer too much, they tend to be just as dangerous as any dragon. And we move on to the phrase, the twins. Jacaerys is there to negotiate, and it's so, I put a note here, so far removed from Lord Walder and the phrase are still the phrase. They are sniveling, except now the Lord Frey has a Lady Frey, and the two of them are very Freyish, and they're negotiating to try to see what the hell, what they can get out of it. And I like that they want Harrenhal. Everybody wants Harrenhal. Everybody wants Harrenhal, but forgets how cursed that house is. And I like Lucerys here says, he's like, if you want and Jacaerys is, yeah, I told you I messed him up. Jacaerys tells him, from that my mother will want more, because he's here to get crossing for the northern army that's coming. But he's like, if you want Harrenhal, my mom's gonna need more than just you opening the doors. Like, yeah, this ain't gonna be like like what they did with Robb Stark. She's like, well, what is she gonna need? What is her greatest desire? And I just like this line. This line, it's very simple. This is a quick response, but he's like, bent knees. Like, you have to bend some knees and make some oaths and strike her banners. You have to raise, or not strike, you're gonna have to raise her banners. We go here back to Harrenhal. We're finishing this up. I'm actually, my notes are, towards their end. So we're almost on here. Repairs continue on Harrenhal. Here is where I'm telling you that Alice is telling Daemon, where I said to you guys that Daemon's shit is going to backfire. And she says, I am hearing basically misery in the wind. And he's like, I tried to convince them to join me. I tried to do it nicely. I don't know if sitting on a dragon and threatening them is very nice, Daemon, but he's like, now I'll have to persuade them other ways. And she's like, is that the kind of army you would raise? An army that, fears you? Men who hate you? And now when he goes, he's talking to her, and he says, when I take King's Landing, he's talking to her, and the, God, what is this gentleman's name? I'm going to call him the Major Domo, the steward. He comes here and he tells her, he tells Daemon, the lords are here. Like, they want to treat with, or rather, fresh news from Stonehenge. He tells him fresh news from Stonehenge. The Blackwoods have overwhelmed the Brackens. Later, he's going to tell him about the consequences of what Daemon is doing and what Alice, the Wood Witch, I'm going to call her the Wood Witch, tried to convince him of. Tried to warn him, hey man, maybe you need to stop doing the same thing. Maybe you need to stop poking the bear and treating the small folk like garbage. We have this really nice scene here with Corlys and Baela. Baela's being pretty badass. She's telling him, like, and they're together mourning Rhaenys. And Baela has a line here that I like, where he tries to tell her, like, hey man, because Baela goes there and tells Corlys, hey, the queen wants to make you hand. And he's like, hasn't my house like given enough? Isn't there anything? What else can Rhaenyra ask of my house? And She's telling him like, dude, stop being a little bitch. Because at one point he was like, maybe I'll go sail. And she's like, you've done it before. Like, that's all you fucking do. You just go off on your own. And he tells her like, I would make you my heir. Remember, she's his granddaughter, right? And Bela has the line. This is the line I'm getting to. I'm letting him play. Letting it play a little bit. He tells her, I would make you my heir. Remember, Lucerys was the previous heir. Lucerys is dead. So, you know, that was Rhaena's fiance. So now the question, now here's the thing. I guess if Lucerys ascended, he's the prince, and then she would be the heir. Yeah, I guess that would be a very powerful union. But she tells him this. He says, I would make you my heir. And I love what Bela says. Is like, she's like, dude, I'm not a Valerian, bro. I'm not a Valerian. I'm blood and fire. I'm blood and fire. And she's like, dude, I'm not meant for ships. I have a dragon. I'm about to burn mofos. So yeah, I like that she said that line. Driftmark must pass to salt and sea. It's a really cool line. And you know, we move on to, ooh boy, we move. Rhaenyra has a little conversation with somebody on her council. It's not very important. Rhaenyra, what I do like is that Rhaenyra isn't blind to Daemon's ambitions. She's not. It's not a huge scene, but it is her sending someone on her council. She says whether he means to raise a host for me or for himself. She's not blind, guys. People are thinking that Rhaenyra doesn't know what Daemon is doing, why he's ignoring her, what they argued about. She knows. She's not. She's had to deal with Daemon's daring and his ambition his whole life. She saw her father have to deal with it. She had to deal with it herself when Daemon stole that dragon's egg and took it to Dragonstone and declared himself the Prince of Dragonstone. Like, she knows that Daemon has always wanted the throne, and whether it's by his own claim or through Rhaenyra's claim, one way or another, he's gonna want that crown or the Iron Throne, I should say. And so he sends someone from her council to find out. She's like, I'm tired of being ignored. You go see what his intentions are. Ask him. Find out. And the guy's like, he wouldn't dare. And she's like, you know Daemon to lack for daring, and his daring is gonna be thrown in his face right now because the lords assemble, and this is very much Daemon's biggest problem. Oops, I brought it the wrong way. Here we go. This is one of Daemon's biggest problems, is that arrogance. Daemon truly believes himself to be superior to everybody that's not a Targaryen. And they wake him up in the middle of the night, the lords, and he goes, I see I must begin here with a lesson in etiquette. You know, like, I have to, why would you raise your king? Or failing that, improper fear of your Targaryen master. Daemon has not learned the fact that sometimes you get more flies, or what is it? You get more flies with honey, and than you do with vinegar. And not only did he send the Blackwoods to commit atrocities, which is what these people are here for. They're here to name the atrocities that the Blackwoods have done to House Bracken. Okay, the sacred septs on Bracken lands were looted and burned. They pursued the women and children. Like, these are the works of barbarity. Once again, Daemon doesn't realize that this cloak and dagger stuff is only spilling back in his face. Not only did it ruin Rhaenyra's claim, but is now poisoning his own claim. And right here, he's telling these beasts proudly carry the banner of House Targaryen, and they are livid. The Lord, so all he's done is now make these people hate him. So what chance does he have to raise up flags and banners? And there's a line here that really dude, Matt Smith is so goddamn good. He's like, wait, what? It's like, what? Wait, you guys aren't scared of me? Like, what? You aren't here to bend the knee? No, man, you fucking everything up. He's at wit's end. He's at wit's end, and unfortunately, and he starts to see his like dead wife, his previous wife before Rhaenyra. And there's a line here that I'm trying to see if I can get to. Oh, right here. Here it is. We should have expected nothing more from a man who ordered the slaughter of a child in his mother's arms. If I didn't want to lose my broken mic, I would just drop it on the floor because this dude is just he look at the way that Damon. This is also what I love right here. Look how Damon reels back from this, right? How Matt Smith plays this. He doesn't have him just angry or the sort. He almost reels back from that like it's a blow. Look. He's bewildered, confused, offset. Once again, this is Damon. We don't normally see Damon in this frame of mind. So vulnerable, and Harrenhal and this war is taking its toll on him. And this man tells him, your man is half the kingdom, my prince. And he makes it damn clear to call him my prince. Not your grace, not nothing. And they are done with him. And this shot right here, there's another smaller shot. He has his hand right here, right? Up against the fireplace. And look at where they go with the next shot. Oops, I'm so sorry. I went too fast on that. He's there. He's kind of looking into the fire. And then you have this shot of Rhaenyra doing the same thing half across Westeros. I like that. I like small little things like that. It's an awesome shot. And it's nearing the end. I'm a little confused as to what the White Worm has done. The White Worm and Rhaenyra sent off one of Rhaenyra's servants to go look for or to deliver an errand. I'm sure this will play out more next episode. We don't really see too much of what that's gonna do in this one. But what I really want to get to is this scene right here. Well, I guess I don't recognize, and maybe I have to go back and rewatch this. This is the servant. She says Alinda. I don't know who Alinda is. Is that a character that's been mentioned? Maybe I haven't been paying attention to who this. I don't recognize this person. I don't. Alinda. I'm struggling. I don't know. And I put down notes. I'm like, who is this lady? The last thing is right here. We have a shot of Aemon looking at the throne. Well, that's the second to last scene. We have a shot here of Aemon looking at the throne. He's staring at it. And then Helena comes up behind them. His sister, remember, Helena isn't just, Aegon and Aegon's wife. She's Aegon and Aemon's sister. And she asks him, was it worth the price? Helena doesn't get much dialogue, man, but when she does get lines in, they are brutal, man. They're vicious signs. They're vicious lines. And Alicent is with Aegon. And what it ends with, I'll say what it ends with. The final thing that it ends with is Rhaenyra and Jacaerys have a scene. They're talking about things. They're talking about kind of how, like I said before, they're both in a bind, how they are in tough straits. And even here, I'm sorry. She says Vhagar is big, but Syrax, her dragon, is quicker. So like I said, she could probably destroy Vhagar. She probably could kill Vhagar because Vhagar is weakened and tired. But they have this idea where she's like, I need dragons. She says, Jacaerys says we have two large enough to stand against Vhagar. They still have King Jaehaerys's Vermithor, and they still have Queen Alysanne's Silverwing, who are, God, let me strain real quick. What are they to Rhaenyra? Are they her great grandfather? Yes, I believe so. Yes, because God, hold on. Let me see if I can remember off the top of my head now somehow some House of the Dragon chronology here. So it's King Jaehaerys, Queen Alicent, and their oldest was Aemon, and Aemon had Viserys and no, did he have? No, he had Rhaenyra, I believe, and then I think Balin had Viserys and God Almighty, and Viserys and Daemon. Dude, it's all confusing. I'm sorry. I went down the rabbit hole trying to figure that out. My brain was like, sir, and I don't want to look it up. But anyway, I think it's like her great grandfather, and she's a great grandfather and great grandmother, and she's saying, or even great, but she's saying like, dude, we have these two dragons. We have Jaceres is telling her, and she's like, yeah, but we don't have riders. I don't have anyone who could ride them. And that's when Jaceres says, well, why don't we go look for some riders? Why don't we look for those who have Valyrian blood? And that they are planting the seed to go find some dragon seed. To go find, the Targaryen bastards that are out there. That's, I think, where Ulf is going to get. I think that's where Ulf is going to finally play in. They've been hinting at it, that he is an actual Targaryen, and now they need other riders. But to me, I'm like, then what chance does the Greens have against Rhaenyra if they have Vermithor and Silverwing with them? You know what I mean? So it's very interesting. It's cool. Damn, this show just does not disappoint. It continues to be very entertaining. They are setting up more seeds for this conflict, more plot. Again, this was a slower episode. But I want to stress how there is nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with slower episodes when it comes to Game of Thrones. That is what Game of Thrones and House of the Dragons does. They set up these bigger pieces, and sometimes they're not huge battles. Sometimes it's just as simple as a son shooting his father on the toilet with a crossbow. Sometimes it's something like that. You know what I mean? It's just they set up the payoff, because every time that they do pay off this, it's because and why it's so rewarding, it's because they've built it up. And that's what this episode was. It's the aftermath of what was a huge buildup of the first 4 episodes of the season, and if not all of season 1 as well, to now being like, okay, now we're building up. We're showing you where the pieces are falling now after all that. This is where we got to get everything back together. So again, another entertaining episode. I want to say something important. Again, I apologize if I am not fully, if it doesn't seem like I have the same enthusiasm, or if I was a little distracted or whatnot. I apologize for that. I truly do. If you made it at the end of this, I always try to give you guys breakdowns and analysis, and I do enjoy doing this. I am sorry though, again, with what events happened yesterday. Obviously, unless you've been living under a rock, there was an assassination attempt on a presidential candidate, on Trump, and it's just crazy, right? Because we're watching fantasy with crazy times, but we're living in crazy times right now. What happened yesterday was historic. It's something that hasn't happened in 40 years. I'm not gonna make this political. If you want something political, go to my Twitter. But just what I will say is, more than anything, like I said at the beginning of the video, please, your time is precious. If you watch this video fully, I thank you for that. I truly do. It's about an hour. If you watch some of it, I still thank you for it, right? But more than anything, I encourage you to take that time to do the things that you love. If that's whether watching my videos, that's watching something else who brings you joy. If I bring you a bit of joy, then I'm happy as hell to do that, because that's what I do this for, right? It's not I do this for fun. I don't do this for money. I do other things for money. I do this for fun, and I hope to provide you guys with entertainment. And that's what I want y'all to do, is to take that time that you have, because it's so goddamn precious. Spend it having a good time. Let's bring some joy back into this. Spend it with some loved ones. I just was this weekend spending some time with my wife. We took a nice trip. We live very close to Washington, D.C. So we were enjoying the sights, the museums, and whatnot. And I truly encourage you guys, please, please, this world is crazy out there. It is not guaranteed time that you will have here. So make the most of the time you have. Please spend it with some loved ones. Your time is precious. Take care of yourselves. Please stay safe out.